So here's an idea. I've been doing this also for, I would say, 2 years in my visuals. I started changing my visuals the way I wanted to do them, and I started implementing other things that I liked. So in the beginning, I did the DNRS rounds where you do the 2 past memories and you do 2 futures. And then I started changing them around. I stopped doing a script, and then I started doing my own script where I stopped doing the stop because I felt it showed resistance. So this is where I started doing my own thing, and I stopped DNRS because I was stuck with the resistance and my OCD started to spike. So I started implementing a bunch of different things, right? And someone asked the other day, well, how did you know you were doing the right thing if you're trying all these things, right? For me, I knew I was doing something right with the mind-body space. And I kept going in that field. Brain retraining space and anxiety space, TMS, DNRS, lightning process, Gupta, a bunch of books. So I made my own version, became my own guinea pig, made mistakes, failed a bunch of times, and while I was doing my visuals, I was also getting clarity, downloads, aha moments, and things started to click for me because a lot of these programs that I did, I wasn't really understanding what was going on, right? Some of these brain retraining programs, all they focus on is neuroplasticity and just stick to it and redirect. And it didn't really, I'm a person, I need to understand what's going on. Things just started to make sense. And I started to see the brain as a security system. So this way I could really understand what was going on. Before it was still like, well, they're saying this and then they're saying the opposite here, and it's kind of going against, like nothing really added up, and it just got me so confused. So it made things harder, right? If I don't know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it, or if I'm not understanding, I'm not going to get far. And that's why I got stuck when I was doing DNRS, because I was resisting and I wasn't processing and acknowledging the alarms, turning the alarms off, bringing my baseline down. I wasn't doing any of that. So one day, it kind of clicked on me that, okay, this is a security system. Surveillance, video surveillance. Your brain utilizes all these sensory things to gather information so it can make a decision if you're in danger or not, because its job is to keep you alive. I started calling things alarms to understand, right? I'm like, some of the old terms that I learned, they didn't make sense to me. But then when I started saying alarms, it clicked. I was like, anxiety symptoms, most of these symptoms are just alarms. And what's the purpose of an alarm? An alarm is to be acknowledged so, you can be aware of perceived danger. It's brilliant. We have an alarm system. And then everything started to make sense. Sensitivities, why the brain says, that's it, we're not letting anything in, and we're letting everything out. Right? It throws on alarms, asks questions later, because it doesn't care if you suffer. It just wants you to be alive. As long as you're alive, it doesn't care if you suffer. And then everything started to make more sense. So I had this moment of clarity. So I started changing my whole approach. And that's the reason why I knew this was working, because things started to make sense. I started to understand. And when there's, proof in the pudding, another check mark. So I was checking all these things off, right? Check mark, check mark, check mark. This makes sense. This makes sense. Alarm system, baseline, recalibrate, and exposing myself to things, right? Sitting in the fear, changing the response to what I used to say, and communicating with the brain in a totally different way. It's how you respond to the brain, because the brain's there to serve you. It's your security system, like these fire alarm systems, right? My dad used to be in a fire alarm tech, and I worked with him a couple summers. And I learned, I had to sit with a walkie-talkie in front of this alarm panel, and he'd go check the smoke detectors, and he'd check the heat detectors, and just the regular alarms. And also, you could tell what sector of the building is at what stage of alarm. So we go through different stages of alarms. And I noticed that. I was like, remember when you were working on these alarm panels with your dad, and they would fix them and they would test them to make sure they were working properly, and they would reset them, and they'd have fire drills, right? I'm like, I saw a lot of similarities with our brain and this fire alarm system. And it made a lot more sense. And it wasn't so confusing. It was a lot easier, because there's a lot of programs out there that make everything so complicated, right? When it doesn't need to be. When it's just, you have an alarm system, it has a job to do. Don't take it personal. If you do this, everything will regulate. It's almost that simple. And things become easier when you get it. When it clicks and you understand how it works by, doing it and having a response and seeing the patterns and having the proof, right? Proof is in the pudding. Then you get all these check marks. And then it just, everything just makes sense. So then you become your own guide, and then you start to predict things. Well, if this is a security system, then that means that this should do this. Okay, well, let's see if it will. So then you do testing on yourself, or do testing on others, or you start to have the answers before asking for a question. Right? You're like, oh, I bet you this is going to happen. And then it does. And you're like, shit, I'm getting this. I'm starting to understand how this works. Right? Okay. And then you take it to another level where you purposely put your body through a stress response to see if you'll get old symptoms coming back. And you do it on purpose. And then you're like, holy shit, I'm getting symptoms coming back. This is like clockwork. Right? And I started to get comfortable with my body because I knew how it worked. I was in the driver's seat. I was really comfortable that I could drive it because I understood how everything worked, like the instrument panel. And I started getting familiar with everything, right? The infotainment system, my security system, right? So when you get confident with how things work because you understand it's just there to serve you, you become your own guide. And you can almost call the shots before they happen. So you call them and you see what happens, and it's like, man, this is awesome. So it ends up it goes from being a battle to going with it to using it to your own advantage, right? So that's how I knew, by trying all this shit, all these different mind, body, space programs, and reading the books and making the mistakes and trying my own version, and doing the testing myself. That's how I trusted the process, because I was seeing results and I was understanding how everything just made sense. When things make sense, you're more likely to trust it, right? When you understand something, you trust it and you get results. And the more results you get, the more you trust it and the more you have confidence. And that's what happened to me. So with visuals, when I started changing the visuals to kind of what I wanted, I was into Earl Nightingale, Bob Proctor, and Neville Goddard, and a couple others. Most of these guys are from the 1930s. And, they talk about manifesting, they talk about your physical reality and the spiritual side. And at this time, I was starting to grow my spiritual muscle, right? I was really getting into it. Especially with my visuals, I was, not so much doing it just to bring my baseline down and to sit and dose, But I was also doing it because I wanted the downloads. So for some people, this might not be your thing, because I'm going into the, a bit of the spiritual side. And I thought about this a couple weeks ago. You know what? I'm going to implement the spiritual side into recovery, because it was what I went through. And it was a part of the piece that I had to have for recovery, for me. And this channel is mostly about, 99% what I went through and what I did to recover. And I can't avoid the spiritual side of it. It was a huge part. So I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to talk about it. So if there's, some of you that it doesn't click with you, take that part out. That's fine. Implement whatever works for you in there. Fill in the blanks, right? But for me, I know what I went through. I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And I had downloads. Massive golden nuggets of clarity. Holy fucking shit moments where I was freaking out in my car. And, the way I did it was practice, and doing it. So doing my visuals, doing it for health reasons, but also doing it for spiritual reasons, growing that spiritual muscle. And the more you do it, the more you get in tune, the better you get at it, right? And when you ask, you can ask, like, if you have guides, your higher self, if it's God or source or whatever you're into, speak to it and ask for help. Ask for clarity. That's what I did. I go, I'm grateful that you're helping me, protecting me, and I always invite you into my life to help me and give me golden nuggets of clarity. I have this thing. I'm trying to figure this out. Can you give me some direction? Can you give me golden nugget of clarity? Can you give me an aha moment? You're always welcome to send them to me. Even when I don't ask, send them to me anyway. And I would get them when I didn't even ask, right? I get these golden nuggets of clarity where I'm like, oh, shit. And I'd have to press pause, rewind. What was that I said? I thought so. Damn. Or something would happen while I was speaking these words, and I would be in shock. I swear there was a couple times where I was like, for like 30 seconds, I was like, holy fuck, do you see that? Or, did you hear that? Or, what? Press stop, rewind, play. Okay, shit. That's what. So if you ever get synchronicities and they happen at a certain time, you see something, you hear something, whatever it is, and then just be aware of what did you say at that time. Because sometimes, your higher self or consciousness will kind of tap you on the shoulder and go, yes, listen to that. What you're saying right now, listen to that. Pay attention. Because you get your downloads and they come out through your own voice. See, some people have a gift and they can directly channel, talk to spirits. They can, tap in, and really see things with their eyes in visions and pictures. They can do that. They can tap into that vibration and get information. Me, I'm not at that level. But I'm like the average Joe, like anybody else. And I was able to get downloads in the form of my own voice and my own thoughts. And that's why sometimes at first it can be confusing, because you can't tell if it's you or an intervention from above. But you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because it's the same. We are the same. We are one. Right? So it doesn't matter if you don't have to separate if it's this or that. Just take something. If it clicks with you, that's your golden nugget. So that's what I used to do. I used to take something that I wanted clarity about and just talk about it. And, look at it in all sides, right? And get curious about it. Really get curious about it and creative about it. I just sometimes take a break, take a pause. And then all of a sudden it would hit me. It'd be like, seriously, it'd be like, boom, and I just start talking. Without thinking. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck did I just say? That is genius. That makes sense. That's the missing puzzle to my question. And I'd quickly rewind, write it down, and I would talk about that for a week. And I would record it on my phone and give it titles. And I'd have like folders that I would save so I would never forget this shit. Because sometimes you have these golden nuggets of clarity and you might forget about it in a month. And I never wanted to forget this shit. Because to me, this was like literal, priceless gold that was brought to me from the skies, right? Downloads, like I was, Wi-Fi and a Wi-Fi antenna tapping into consciousness, and I was getting these golden keys. So I made sure I didn't forget. I made sure I recorded it, and even if something happened, I would quickly press record. I'm like, ugh, open my phone. How do I put my phone open? I'm like, what's my password again? Oh yeah, it's. I'd be like, don't forget. So I'd sometimes repeat it in my, I go, right? And I'm trying to find that recording app, and I'd hit it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, stop. All right. Okay, give it a name. Saved. Sweet. I can relax. Now I can think about what I just heard, what I just said. I can reflect on that download. So, yeah, the visuals were very important because spiritually, the spiritual side was actually the bigger, more important side for me, right? And I enjoyed doing this. So that's what I did. But when I switched over to the future visuals, since I was in Neville Goddard, Bob Proctor, Earl Nightingale, I started doing my future visuals a little different. Because in the beginning I used to go, I will do this. I will live in the mountains in BC. I will have, right? So I switched it up and I started changing it to, I have this. I am doing this. So I assumed that whatever I wanted was already done. Right? That I'm already living that life now. In the present moment. Right? Because the brain doesn't know the difference. Right? So I'm not going to say, I am going to. I used to say, I am. And then whatever, I'd say, I am, and after that, fill in the blanks. You are what? What are you? Well, I am living in the mountains, in the house, beautiful house in BC, or Alaska, or the Yukon. And I have, a nice home, big property. And, right, and I start to explore what I want. Because it's like this. It's like if you have a Corvette in your garage, are you going to go check to see if your Corvette's there? No. You have a Corvette in the garage. So act like it. But people, when they manifest, they say they want to have a Corvette in the garage, and they keep looking to see if it's there yet. Right? You're putting that doubt frequency in there. You're not really dialing in that actual reality. You're kind of dialing in a different radio station or a different frequency that has nothing to do with that Corvette being in the garage. So you have to almost put it this way. Say, yeah, I have the Corvette in my garage, but it's not the color I like. That makes it even more real because you're showing a conflict to the thing you want to manifest. Right? Like, yeah, one of my leather seats is ripped because one of my dogs was in the back and it, got scared because there was a bird flying by and it was like this, and it ran to get it, and when it went to run to get it, it scratched the leather. Now I got to get that replaced, and I was told I might have to, because it's a big rip, I might have to replace the whole seat, and that's like $2,000. And this is a $90,000 car that I just got, right? And I had to sell the Benz, right? So you're really getting into the reality of it. And, you're not looking to see if you have a Corvette. No, you have a Corvette and you're fucking annoyed with it because it's costing you money to fix the seat. Right? And it's getting dusty. And it's turning out to be more of a headache. That creates reality. So not only are you bringing your baseline down, but you're sitting in dose. You're learning how to manifest. You're learning how to create the life that you want. and you're getting these golden nuggets of clarity with the downloads and working that spiritual muscle. And what I used to also do, I used to switch it up a bit. So I'd go, I assumed that was happening now. And then I would imagine that I was having a meeting with my future self, right? God's source or my higher self or my guides were like, yeah, we're going to tap you in to a frequency and you're going to talk to your future self. It's almost like a phone line, but it was just telepathic, right? I'd be like, hello? And it'd be like me, hey, what's going on, man? I'd be like, holy shit, man, like, so what's the next 5 years like? And then I'm assume that I'm me in the future, right? Talking to my past self. And I go, yeah, you're still on the journey. Just so you know, you recover, you thrive. You're actually, it's not even something that you think about anymore. You're doing really good. You actually are living in near the mountains, near the lakes. It's not in BC, but it's close by, near that area. And you're, you have a cleaning business. It's doing really well. You had a couple of hiccups here and there. It was hard to find good helpers and to hire people and to expand for that little bit. But it was something you expected, and you started to expand. It was great, and then you decided to have somebody run it for you because your other passion, helping people with recovery, started to grow. And I want to thank you, Helmut, for planting those seeds right where you are right now and sticking to it, because of that we were able to create the life that we want, and we were able to help a lot of people. Oh, cool. How's my YouTube channel? Oh, it's growing really big, and a lot of people you've helped a lot of people. It's it's amazing. It's still growing now, and you love it. You don't do so much coaching because you never really liked coaching. No, I know, because you ended up being a Gordon Ramsay. I know, but sometimes you do coach some people here and there. You also have coached a couple celebrities. No way. I never thought of that. Yeah, you coached a couple of celebrities. You helped them get their lives back, and then you were, you weren't on Oprah because you don't really like Oprah. But I'm not going to name who they are. Some of them are not popular yet. But you ended up doing a couple of talk shows, and giving your book out to the audience for free. Oh, kind of like what Oprah did. Yeah. But it's not Oprah. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah, I don't really like her. Oh yeah, you're going on hikes all the time. And did I lose some weight? Yeah, you lost weight. Yeah, you look good. You actually lost about 10 pounds. You're like, you'll gain like 5, you'll lose like 10. So you're in that comfort zone right there. That's cool. Do I have any cactuses out in the backyard? Yeah, you bought some cactuses and you wrapped these cheesy lights around them, and they're on all year round. Yeah, it's pretty cool when you turn the lights on. You got these glowing cactuses in your backyard, and it looks really trippy. It's awesome. Oh, cool. So yeah, that's what you're talking to the future self, and you're like, all right, what about this and what about that? And then you'll make it more realistic, and your future self will be like, I don't want to give you too much information, because if I give you too much information, you're going to have too much confidence and you're not going to do the work. You're just going to slack, and then this future that you're working for now won't happen. So I have to be careful what I say. My guides, they kind of tell me, okay, that's enough. Don't say that. Don't. Right. Okay. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. No. I don't want to ruin anything. Just tell me what's okay to tell me. Then that's cool. Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up. If you want to talk to me again, get back to me in a year, and we'll go maybe another 10 years into the future. What do you think? Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah. So I used to, talk to my future self. With my visuals, I would assume that I'm doing things now, that what I want is already happened. And so you're manifesting, creating your reality, talking to your future self, you're sitting in dose, and you're bringing your baseline down. That's 5 things. Massive things. Oh, is there a 6th one? You're getting mega downloads. I think getting the downloads is the biggest one for me. The biggest thing, because it's the golden nuggets of clarity. And you know, the more you do this, the better you get at it. So be open-minded that you are getting downloads, and that eventually it's going to get easier and it's going to be magical. So maybe this will give you guys some ideas to really expand your visuals, right? It's not so deck. What's next? Okay. Deck. And then I deck. And then my dad and my mom were deck. Is it an hour yet? So then, right? You don't want to have it like that. You want to be like, all right, where are we going to start? Oh, this is great. All right, how are we starting this? This is going to be, oh man, it's so cozy in here. Oh, fucking right. Okay, when are we going to, all right, let's get to this. I got all these ideas. Oh man, I can't wait to get into this. Oh, let's get into this. Fucking right. Yes. All right. I want to thank my guides. I want to thank my higher self. I want to thank Source. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for being there. Thank you for protecting my family, my dogs, right? And my wife, my kid, my friends, you, and right. So you start rhyming off these people that you want to say hi to and whatever, and respect and thank yous and the gratitudes, and then you start. That's what I did and I still do it, right? You get into it and you start creating your reality. You sit into the fuzzy dose, and you get those downloads and you're like, oh yeah, right? It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So try some of these things and tell me how it goes. I'm really curious to see if anybody's gotten any downloads yet. And you don't have to share what you got, but yeah, let me know if you got any.